The Canon EOS R5 is arguably the top-selling, the best-selling pro-level series camera in the last 10 years. So after almost 3 years, is a refresh imminent? Details coming up, but first, please do me a favor and follow me on Twitter, subscribe, choose all notifications, like, comment, and all that good stuff, as it really helps this channel grow. On November the 25th, 2022, Canon Rumours released the first ever story about the successor to the widely popular Canon EOS R5, the R5 Mark II. The rumor looked good, and to many, it looked way too good. It's more of what many expected to see in the Canon EOS R1 than the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Just look at the specs. 61 megapixel backside illuminated sensor, dual image processors, 8K 60 frames per second, 8K oversample from 24-25, all the basic frame rates, all the way up to 100 and 120 frames per second. 240 frames per second in 1080. And the Canon EOS R5 is supposed to get dual CF Express cards, something that's usually left to 1 series cameras. Look at the bottom. It's due out in Q2 2023. And we're just a few weeks away from the second quarter that includes March, April, and May, and normally this is a very big camera season. We have NAB usually right in the middle in April, and then we usually get the last big camera announcements of the year in May. So you'd expect, at least if we're getting the announcement in the second quarter, in March, April, or May, we'd start to get some more leaks now, at least some validation around that, well, Black Friday, November 25th, 2022 story about all the detailed rumored specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. But we haven't received any validation. And if you want to know the latest detailed leak specifications, the supposed leak specifications on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and what my red flags were, well, go ahead and watch this video here as I step through 5, nay 6 different red flags that I have. But again, these are rumors. It doesn't mean that they're not true. It just means that we haven't received any validation. And the second quarter, well, it's on our doorstep. But just this week, B&H knocked another $200 off the price of the Canon EOS R5, which was already on sale for $200 off. $400 off the Canon EOS R5. And if this deal's too good to be true, well, feel free to use my link. I've got it in the description down below. This is very unusual for Canon, and it's certainly unusual for the Canon EOS R5. For the first 2 years of this camera's life cycle, there wasn't a single sale, nowhere in the world. Well, there are some exceptions. If your currency's currency increased against the US dollar or significantly against the Japanese yen, then yes, you saw a price decrease, a momentary decrease. But we've never seen sales like this. $200 off the Canon EOS R5 starting on Black Friday, $100 off the Canon EOS R10, and anywhere from $100 to $400 off other Canon RF lenses. And at one point, there were 12 different RF lenses on sale. That's a good third of the inventory. This wasn't just a sale for Black Friday. It wasn't just a sale for Black Friday and Christmas, because a lot of those things, a lot of those camera bodies and lenses, not things, well, they were on sale past Christmas, past New Year's, and some are still on sale today. Is Canon doing this to pad year-end earnings? Well, I doubt so, because the last quarterly earnings and the last annual earnings, the ones ended in December the 31st, 2022, well, they showed 120,000 units extra over the previous year. So it doesn't look like they're trying to pad the books, and it doesn't look like they're short for cash in any way whatsoever. Or could this be Canon's way of dealing with the fallout from enforcing their intellectual property over third-party RF glass? Definitely possible. As I've already pointed out, Canon's got a lot of sales still today on various RF lenses and some sales on camera bodies. But $400 off the Canon EOS R5, that's not a small sale. And on a camera that's been in high demand for much of its first 2 years, where in many countries, people were still waiting months to get this camera, right up to 2 years. And even today, the camera's a little bit short on supply. The Canon EOS R5 is one of the top-selling pro-level cameras in the last 10 years, and it's really helped Canon with their earnings. In the last 2 years, Canon has stated that the R5 and the R6 have greatly exceeded their expectations. So 10% off one of their top-selling pro-level series cameras? They didn't need to do it. Why would Canon knock off 10% of their top-selling camera in the worst-performing retail season of the year? January is notoriously terrible, as is February when it comes to selling gear. So why knock off the price 10% from $39 or $38.99 all the way down to, well, $34.99? But wait a minute, I just had a thought. if we are getting this Canon EOS R5 Mark II and these specs, these rumored specs are to be true, and we can believe that it's going to be coming out in the second quarter? And the story on Canon Rumours from November the 25th is from a known source. The story's rated as a CR2. Does this mean then we could expect a sale on the Canon EOS R5C as well? Sure enough, the Canon EOS R5C, well, it's also on sale and also $400 off. Sure enough, the Canon EOS R5C is also on sale, and it's also on sale for $400 off its regular price. Both of these cameras on sale in the slowest month of the year, knocking $400 off. I want to talk about the Canon EOS R5. I've been shooting with this camera 1 week before it was released to the public. I've shot well over 1,000 videos with this camera, and it's my workhorse. It's incredible what it does. I constantly shoot. My most popular mode is shooting 8K over sample 4K or 4K HQ. It's obviously a great stills camera, but its video capabilities, especially with the Ninja 5, is just, well, it's incredible. And with Sony just announcing the A7 R5 back in November, late October, for around the same price point with very similar capabilities. In some cases, the A7 R5 is certainly better. It's got 61 megapixels. It's got pixel shift, which, unlike any other camera out there with pixel shift, does it so very well, even with moving subjects. But when it comes to video, the Canon EOS R5 with 8K RAW up to 30 frames per second, uncropped, with IBIS, with autofocus, auto exposure, it's pretty impressive. Even the Sony A7 R5, which can do 8K, 24 and 25 frames per second, can't do, well, it can't do 30 frames per second, and it can't do RAW, and it's got a 1.2 times crop. And I'm not here to beat up on the Sony A7 R5. What I'm trying to say is that even though it's almost 3 years after Canon released the Canon EOS R5, when we look at the competition, the very well-performing Sony A7 R5, the Canon EOS R5 doesn't feel long in the tooth. It doesn't make me feel, geez, I can't wait for a refresh here because look at that Sony or look at that Panasonic or that Nikon. No, the Canon EOS R5, even here in early 2023, still feels like it's at the top of its game, not in any need of any sort of refresh. I know what many of you are thinking. Yes, the Canon EOS R5 is one of the best cameras and that you'd love to have it. At $38.99, it's very expensive, and that's before you purchase any extra batteries, storage, or even some glass to go alongside it. But at $34.99, does it change your outlook on this camera? Does it put it in that approachable, maybe I can save for this point? The Canon EOS R5 normally gets refreshed, or the 5 series level camera, the 5D Mark IV, Mark III, Mark II, Mark I, they were generally looking at around a 3 to 4 year refresh cycle. And July, the third quarter, early third quarter, would put it at the 3 year mark. So we definitely can expect a refresh of the Canon EOS R5 over the next 14 months. The only question is, can we expect to see the Canon EOS R5 Mark II sometime in the next 3 months, announced in the next 3 months, and available for sale and shipping sometime early in the third quarter? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and let's have a bit of a discussion or debate about this. Because, I don't know, we haven't received any validation, but I keep thinking back to January the 27th of 2020, and we got some pretty amazing leaked specifications on a camera that was called the R5S, which turned out to be the R5. Canon Rumours got every single thing right. They had about 12 to 16 different things talking about 8K video, RAW, 30 frames per second, 24/25 as well, all I. That it could do 4K 120, it had IBIS, it had all these things, 45 megapixel sensor, and many didn't believe it. And myself thought, wow, if this is true, I'm gonna have to get this camera. So while I have about 5, nay, 6 red flags on this camera, and no, I'm not a horse, I don't know why I'm saying nay. So while there are about 6 red flags that I have on this camera, they're mainly because we haven't received any sort of validation. But as we're near the middle of February now, we should start to expect to get some, well, leaks of images, of specifications, some sort of validation. If this camera is real, if we are supposed to be getting it within the next 3 months, at least announced, and then available for shipping sometime in the third quarter. And if you'd like to stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors as well, specifically regarding the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, a camera that I'm very eager in upgrading to as well, keeping my original R5 but running with 2 different cameras. Well, two different viewpoints, I should say. They're both going to be the same camera, although one will be newer than the other. Then do yourself a favor, and me as well. Go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you choose all notifications. That way, by choosing all notifications, as soon as I publish a new video like this one here, you can stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors. I cover all the major camera gear, all the major camera brands, all in one spot. And for all the minor camera news and all the minor camera models, well, I cover those on Twitter, so make sure you follow me on Twitter as well. And if you're interested in purchasing the Canon EOS R5 or the R5 II or any of the lenses or any other gear that I've talked about in this video, please consider using my affiliate links down below to B&H and Amazon.com. I get 1% to 2% back, so there's my disclosure. And what I use with that money, it goes towards funding additional cameras or gear solely for the purpose of this channel. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.